100 years ago, they were required to read fluently, write good hands, be conversant with the principles and practice of arithmetic, be well grounded in sacred and profane history, and have received in other respects a plain but liberal education. Army school teachers. Their classroom today, the whole wide world. Aden, where Noah is believed to have built his ark. Where better to learn the origins of life at the beginning of life? Army school children. As much at home on a Hong Kong ferry as on a London bus. In Germany, not every road leads to Berlin. For David and Alison, this one leads straight to school. Last term, it might have been a bus ride to Bielefeld. Today, it could be a drive across the desert. But assembly is always at 9, whether it be Aden or Malta. These are the children of servicemen. For them, school is everywhere, wherever their fathers may be stationed. Children to whom the most foreign of all countries may well be Britain.
Of the 4 countries that make up the British Isles, England is the largest. No part of England is more than 100 miles from the sea. The highest lands lie to the west. On the low and sandy east coast, sand and shingle are deposited all the time by the North Sea. Far up long inlets, such as the Thames and Severn, great ports have grown up, such as London and Bristol. To the southwest lies Salisbury Plain. On the south coast, the chalk hills of England end in white cliffs.
Every other soldier in today's army is a married man, and many are overseas for much of their service career. They want their children with them. Whether they be called upon to serve in jungle, desert, or frozen fields, they want the best out of life for their children. The soldier of today is a family man, well versed not only in the skills of his military profession, but also in his duties as a husband and a father. The army of today is geared to this basic fact of its contemporary life, building not only shops, homes, and community centers, but also schools. Adapting existing army barracks if practicable, designing and building new schools where possible. Well over 100 schools for more than 30,000 children. The Royal Navy and the Royal Air Force maintain similar schools overseas. In an army school can be found sailors' sons and flight sergeants' daughters, and the children of army and navy families attend Air Force schools. In Malta, all secondary school children attend the Royal Naval School at Tal Handak. Home is where you do your homework, and in the sultry warmth of the tropics, it can be just as tedious and tempting to postpone as it was in last year's centrally heated German winter. Long before the struggle against Napoleon, the British Army had recognized its obligation to educate its children. Before Wellington had even fought the Battle of Waterloo, the Commander-in-Chief had suggested that any unit which did not possess a regimental school should open one. The Chelsea Military College was established by royal warrant in 1801, and a corps of army schoolmasters was mustered in 1846.
There was a knight, a most distinguished man, who from the day on which he first began to ride abroad had followed chivalry, truth, honour, generousness and courtesy. He had done nobly in his sovereign's war, and ridden into battle, no man more, as well in Christian as in heathen places, and ever honoured for his noble graces.
The Chaucer, who wrote of a knight on a pilgrimage to Canterbury long ago, was also responsible for the upkeep of walls, ditches, sewers and bridges between Greenwich and Woolwich. More than 600 years ago, he built a bridge across the moat at Eltham Palace, now the home of the Royal Army Educational Corps, the Institute of Army Education. This once royal residence of kings is today the point of departure for teachers bound for any Army children's school overseas.
The Army was already teaching soldiers' children long before there was any national system of compulsory education. The old corps of Army schoolmasters and Queen's Army schoolmistresses have now made way for civilian teachers like yourselves, seconded from local education authorities. You are joining an organization which has a long tradition and experience in the education of children. The length of stay of a child in the service school abroad is often less than 18 months. They leave every day, every week, every month. But you will not find the service child backward. He is adaptable and self-possessed. So long as we have an army anywhere overseas, we shall need schools for its children and teachers for those schools. You are on the threshold of a great adventure. In your teaching, exploit the advantages of the environment in which you find yourselves.
Is a set curriculum laid down? What are the sizes of schools and classes?
Is there any shortage of teaching materials that are available here in England?
How much freedom has a headmaster in the choice of books?
If I go to Germany, should I take an electric kettle to make my morning cup of tea?
Most of the primary schools combine infant and junior departments under one head teacher. Secondary schools are organized on comprehensive lines. The majority are smaller than similar maintained schools in the United Kingdom, varying in size between 400 and 1,000 pupils. There's a plentiful supply of books and up-to-date equipment, much the same as is found in schools at home. Schools are kept abreast of all the newer developments in education. Head teachers in service schools overseas were amongst the first to realize the potential value of vertical grouping, the initial teaching alphabet, practical teaching of number, and language training for primary children.
Was ist das?
Das ist das Uhr.
Was ist das?
Das ist ein Buch.
Ist das ein Bleistift?
Ja, das ist ein Bleistift.
Wie heißt die Familie?
Die Familie heißt die Familie Richter.
Gut.
Secondary schools provide a range of courses to meet the varying needs of the individual. GCE, O and A levels, technical, commercial, certificate of secondary education. The headmaster or headmistress has complete freedom to run his school with his staff as in England. The services back them up with whatever they may need in personnel, professional advice and equipment. More than 2,000 teachers, all suitably qualified and experienced, are teaching today in service children's schools. Teachers in service children's schools overseas face a great challenge, a great opportunity, and a whole new range of experience. A new school, new pupils, new colleagues, a new community. As a teacher, you may find yourself at first living in a hotel. In some places, you live in a teacher's mess. In others, you may find a flat and set up house and home with a colleague. Wherever and whatever your home may be for the next 2 or 3 years, you will soon find your feet. Wherever teachers go, they are there because of the children. Children who face the problem of discontinuity of education as they move from school to school, country to country, accompanying their parents around the world. After 2 or 3 years, their fathers will be posted back home for a while, and they will find themselves again for a relatively short time at schools administered by any one of nearly 200 different local education authorities in the United Kingdom. There is a complete and thorough record of progress and personality, ability and aptitude, and this is essential in effecting a smooth transfer from school to school. Generally, classes are smaller than in the United Kingdom, so it is possible to give much more attention and help to the individual child. Even so, just as it will always be for some, even in the best of all possible worlds, a few children inevitably fall behind. Handicapped for one reason or another by mental, physical, or emotional tensions, as they might be anywhere. Any such situation is at once investigated and discussed with the parents in order to safeguard the interests of the child. Service life is itself family life. The serviceman is a member of a community with its own built-in loyalties. Not for him a next-door neighbor not on speaking terms, total strangers at the end of the street. Morally responsible for the education of their children, the services can help and encourage, anticipate and advise. To minimize the effect of many changes of school, the schools overseas are at least as good as similar maintained schools at home, and the children can enjoy the advantage and stimulus of a direct experience of the world they live in.
Last term, my class went to a rubber estate. The rubber drips out of the trees as a liquid and is collected in little buckets by the Tamils, Indians whose families first came to Malaya 100 years ago. Every day, the liquid rubber, called latex, is taken to a factory where it is made into sheets and sent all over the world. Going on to help the farmer grow more rice from his fields, sometimes 2 or even 3 crops a year. There are now nearly 2 million Chinese people living in Hong Kong, so this is a very good thing.
The Ruhr is the largest and most concentrated industrial area in Western Europe. During the war, much of the German iron and steel industry was destroyed by bombing, so that since the war it has been rebuilt with the latest equipment. The pooling of the iron, coal and steel output of Germany, France and the Benelux countries was the beginning of the European common market of today.
In a constantly changing and dangerous world, nothing stands still. A unit in Germany may find itself under notice to fly to the Far East in 48 hours. Very soon, provision must be found for the schooling of the children who will be following their fathers. The organization and administration of service schools overseas has to remain flexible. New techniques of teaching and new schools staffed by enthusiastic and carefully selected teachers meet the challenge of an ever-changing situation. Outside the windows, the hills of Hong Kong. Inside the walls, a school, just as in Britain. For wherever the children may be, the teaching and education in service schools overseas has but one purpose: to help and prepare them to take their place in the country that will, one day, be home. In service schools overseas, every day is a first day at school. And every day for someone, the last day of childhood.
Well, what I'd like to do is banking.
I thought of being a hotel receptionist, and then when I'm 21 applying for air hostessing.
Yes, I would like to be a secretary.
I'd like to join the police force.
And in the future, I hope very much to go in for nursing.
Well, I think I'd like to take up atomic physics.
For nearly 300 years, the Army has been educating its children. Children who are growing up with a greater understanding of the world and its peoples. Future citizens of the whole world of tomorrow.